and we are down here today at Perivale Wood in northwest London, and that's somewhere where I spend a fair amount of my time and do quite a bit of natural history type surveying. And last night I was running a series of moth traps here, which allow me to look for various moths and see what is here and generally record it. And what I thought I'd do today is we go through, as we've done on several of these broadcasts in the past, and have a look at some of the moths. So what I need to do to make that work is to bring my other device online, which will just take a moment or two. I need to keep looking off to the side to see where it is, and it's being remarkably slow today. Okay, that is really being unhelpful just at the moment. Completely refusing to even connect to apps. Restart the program and have another go. So anyway, down here at Perivale Wood in northwest London, that's a little nature reserve, a bit of ancient oak woodland, and somewhere that I'm involved in running. And we're going to try and get this other camera going, and by doing that, there we go. So with any luck, that should hopefully bring in a picture which should be showing when I go live and started, just showing out the window into the wood whilst I'm getting set up. So that would be there. It's basically just out the window, just off to that side from where I'm looking. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and have a look at one or two of the moths that we caught last night. Say a few things about them, maybe in some cases just say what they are, but some of them a few other comments. So first moth we'll have a look at is one called the black arches. It's a little bit active, so this is the black arches, Limantria monacha. Really rather an attractive species. Got quite a lot of things going on. Let me reverse. Let me in fact put the image of the moth in full champion mode and take me off, because you'll just see bits of my body as I stand up. So we'll see how this goes. This is the black arches, Limantria monacha. It's a fairly common species, but it's fairly robust, fairly distinctive, fairly attractive. It's visually obvious. It does have, let's see if we can see it. You might just be able to make out a bit of pink where the antennae join. It's quite a challenge to see that, but you might just be able to make that out. So that was black arches, which is the first species that we found. Turn back there and have a look out the window again whilst I'm going. Everything seems to be behaving very weirdly at the moment. Right. The next moth we've got is another one with arches in its name. And this is the dark arches, not particularly closely related moth to the previous one. This is dark arches. One of the Noctured moths. I'll put its scientific name up on the screen there. Apomena monoglypha. As is always the way when broadcasting on HAPS, the second I switch the phone on, the signal goes to extremely poor and the quality of the image becomes terrible. But we will give it a go. Hope you'll be able to see that at some point. Again, a common species, one we see quite a few of. Next moth, this is closely related to the first one we saw. I'll just open this up in a moment. So this is the gypsy moth, Limantria dispar. It's a species that's pretty common again now, but is rather a pest species or can be quite a problem in forestry settings. This one is a male. The females are somewhat larger and have a whiter ground colour to them. I'll just leave that there in the hope that at some point the image quality will improve enough to let people see things. It's a gypsy moth. Species that was native to Britain, although went extinct, I believe, and is now recolonised. Although my understanding is that the ones that are recolonised are actually from an East Asian source of the species rather than from nearby continental Europe ones. This is not sitting very well, so we may just have to hold the pot on this one. Hope you can see this through the pot without too much distortion. So the next moth coming up is called a scalloped oak. Again, I will put the name up there. Scalloped oak, pretty common moth. Again, most of the things we're going to see are common here in the UK. And that is Crocalus elinguaria. Although it seems to be lagging hugely on when it's showing the moth. Let me put that up one more time. So there we go, scalloped oak. It's not sitting in a very convenient position, so I've just left it in the pot. And we'll let you have a look from there. What else have I got in here? Another one that's not sitting very conveniently. So the next moth coming up is a buff ermine. What I can't tell is how buff ermine, Spilosoma lutea, a pale tanny buff colour with this fairly distinctive line across the back here of dark spots, allowing us to see which species it is. Fairly common. Here's a species that's rather nicely new to the area. So this species is known as the Jersey tiger. let the camera actually catch up. Because what we've got is a really interestingly slow feed here. So the problem is everything seems to be taking so long to appear on the cloud feed. But here we go. This is a Jersey tiger. This is Eupalagia quadripunctaria. The quadripunctaria is referring in some way to those cross lines, of which there are sort of 4 if you use your imagination. It looks like there's 5 to me. And this is a fairly recent colonist in the London area. It's not a species that, you know, is here maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago. This would have been exceptionally rare to see on this site. Today it's pretty common. There are 2 forms of this moth. One, the most normal form, has an orange, quite a dark orange hindwing. And then there's another form lutescens, which has a yellow hindwing. And this moth has a yellow hindwing. I don't think I can particularly show you that. I'll try and put it in the pot and see if we can see it. Just give me a second to transfer it to the pot. And you might be able to see in there briefly, you might be able to see that the hind wings were sort of a yellow colour. Not particularly brilliant view, but yellow colour. And that typically is a fairly unusual form, isn't it? You know, most of the ones are not that yellow colour. But a lot of the London population is, which perhaps suggests that this was a species that's colonised or has been introduced from a fairly small population, which has therefore got those genetic abnormalities in them. So the next species we will have a look at is a Brownline Browneye. Brownline Browneye. It's got that bright line at the end here and a sort of orangey brown eye shape marked there. It's a fairly common species again. Most of the things I'm going to show you are common, but when scribbling notes down quickly on these things, it can be quite dangerous. There is a species called the Brownline Browneye, and this is Brownline Browneye. And if you very quickly write B-R-line, B-R-I to remind yourself what you've seen, you might forget. However, we only get this one on this site. We don't get Brownline Browneye. So that's that. Oops. Continue to have a look out the window whilst I'm finding another moth to look at. And what we have here, what we will have here, in a moment, is one called the Dusky Thorn. Network quality is being really poor again. Right, here we go. It's the Dusky Thorn. There are several species of moth that are called the thorn moths, and they all have this rather distinctive shape, typically a yellow coloration, And this one has a bit of darkness on the wings, which makes it a dusky thorn rather than one of the other thorns. And with any luck, we will be able to see that. Again, a pretty common species, but rather an attractive one with this rather distinctive half-raised sitting posture with its wings. Right, continue on. Another moth in a pot. And this is quite a nice red colour. This is called the ruby tiger. Put his name up there. Phragmatobia fuliginosa. I'm pretty sure it's subspecies fuliginosa as well. Partly because of the location and partly because of the quite bright red coloration. This is a next species. Again, this is a pretty common species if you read the books, but it's not one we get here very often. So let me just wait till the actual image appears on the screen. Seems to be a huge amount of lagginess going on with this device. So I'll just wait until the device catches up. And what we've got here is a nut tree tussock, Colocasia coralli. It's a common species in all the textbooks, but it's not one we get huge numbers of here. I wouldn't say I necessarily see this every year here in Perivale Wood. So I'm always happy when I get one of these because it's a species I haven't seen that frequently here on this site. What else should we have a look at? The signal quality is not being very helpful, so I think what I'll do is I'll just pull out a couple of interesting things rather than everything. Yes, here's another species coming up which is perhaps not as welcome, certainly not as welcome to local gardeners. So this is the boxworm moth, or the box moth, Sidolema perspectalis. It's a recently arrived invasive species. It feeds on plants, box plants, which are used frequently as ornamental plants in gardens. And this has gone from being not occurring in Britain to being one of the commonest moths in moth traps, and one of the commonest things that we see these days, due in part to the fact that there's probably very few of its parasites here to control it, and it's decimating, or its caterpillars are decimating the box trees and the box bushes in people's gardens. So it's not a popular moth with many of our gardening community. Let's have a look at one more. Sitting here, so I'll just wait till this comes up. And this moth is common, and is indeed common here. It's common here in Perivale Wood. This is the small magpie moth. Black and white coloured, similar to the bird called the magpie, hence the name magpie moth for another moth that looks quite like this. And this one being a bit smaller is called the small magpie. And this is the first species for which we have any records here in Perivale Wood. So that's, I think, rather interesting, rather nice. So what I thought we'd do now, I've had a look at some of the moths from last night. I've got out in the reserve at the moment a couple of moth traps that are using pheromone lures to look for moths in the clearwing genus, clearwing family. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go out and have a quick look at those traps. I'll talk about them on the way. I'm just going to have to go and put these moths somewhere secure, so I will leave you guys looking out the window for a few minutes whilst I do that, and then I will be back once I put the moths somewhere. There you go. You can look out the window for just a moment whilst I'm doing that, and I'm going to flip around some sound effects. So hopefully you are now hearing me again. And I'll just be a moment sorting out these moths, keeping them somewhere secure, and then we're going to go out into the reserve and have a look and see what, if any, species we can find. This is picking up any sound. It should be, but everything is so laggy. That's what is going on here. Okay, that looks like it's working. So we'll go for any of the clearwing moths in the couple of traps. I'm a bit more optimistic. Let me turn the camera and find. Come around again. So it's quite nice and bright and sunny now, which is always positive. The clearwing moths, Cecidae, do most in bright conditions. And it's been relatively dull for most of the day, so I'm not particularly optimistic that we'll have attracted any of these, but we will give it a go and we will see if we can find any, and if we can, that'll be great, and if not, having actively surveyed for something and not found it is still an interesting record. So we'll wander up the meadow here and we will see traps. You can see here the meadow has been somewhat cut, but we've left quite a few areas with bits of flowers uncut just to give a bit of variety to the structure. Later in the season, be having some cattle in to graze this measure, and we would do again just as part of how we manage it, how we look after it. I put one of the traps that you that simulate the chemicals that the female moths use to attract the male moths. And these are impregnated into some little rubber bungs or little vials. We put them out with a little trap design, and the males are hopefully attracted to the smell of the pheromone and come in, and then we can look for them and see them. I've just got to try and remember exactly where I put the trap. I think I put it further up. So we'll go and have a look at this one. This one is here in the meadow, and this one has got this synthetic pheromone that's designed for a species known as the six-belted clearwing. And this is probably the clearwing we get most commonly. So this is the one I'm most optimistic about having some chance of finding. But trap design, and it's essentially a bucket with a green lid. The colour I don't think is particularly significant, and in that plastic bucket underneath you can see the orange there, which is the bung with the synthetic pheromone in. There's sort of a funnel below that, and then it drops into the box here. So I'll just put you guys down for a second and open up. Oops, and there is something flying around in there. That's rather active. Okay, so there's something actively flying around inside here. Let me see if it's settled enough. Have a look. Oh, there it's settled down again. It is indeed a six-belted clearwing, which is kind of what you'd expect, given that's what the lure is. Transparent wings, clear wings, hence the name. And in this case, 6 belts, 6 bands across it. So I will put that into a pot so I can have a proper look at it later. And if I get somewhere where it's say I've got a better signal quality, we might have another go at looking at that. Okay. So there we go, 6 belted clearwing. Magpie pneumoniformis is the scientific name. I can't put that up as on the screen at the moment because I'm out in the field and those controls are on the PC. But a 6 belted clearwing. And then what we do now is now we've completed the survey for it, we take the plastic bung, which I'll just show you there. That's what contains the pheromone. We'll put that away so we're not now calling in any others or interfering with the so what we'll do now is we'll wander down and have a look at another of the done. So it's going to move fairly rapidly through them, and we'll see how that one's woods this time. Not going to spend a lot of time stopping to look at things unless something really walk down through the woods. See if we can find any clearwings. And the other lure in for yellow-legged clearwing, a species associated with oak, which is the predominant tree in the woodland off to my right here. And it's another species we have recorded here, so it is possible. I don't think, have I recorded it here this year? So certainly no guarantees. This lure does also attract a species called Orangetailed clearwing, which isn't something I would expect to, isn't something reading sort of the food plants you would particularly expect to get here. It feeds on wayfaring tree and Gelder rose, little Gelder rose. But actually we've seen quite a few orange-tailed clearwings locally this year to pheromone lures in a variety of locations. So who knows, perhaps, well, there's a suggestion that perhaps it can feed on other things than those two plants that are most normally regarded as its food source, and suggests it feeds on much commoner plants like elder, which does occur here in reasonable number. So who knows, it may well be the reason we're getting several of them is that there's another food plant that the larvae feed on that we haven't got documented in all the literature. So I'll turn the camera around so you can have a look at the wood as we go through. Greenveined white butterfly just flew through, you may have seen that. And the species we're targeting, yellow-legged clearwing, which I was talking about, feeds on oak, and in particular it feeds on oak stumps of a year or two old, presumably also from damaged bits of oak. And one of those to it to leave a lot of the dead wood. So we can have standing and we can have lying dead wood. And with any luck, that provides the habitat for these sort of species. But we will see. Certainly no guarantees. I've certainly ran these lures and failed to find them in the past, so we certainly can't be confident, but it's important to carry out these sort of surveys, and it's important to. So here you can see coming up, hanging on that old oak limb, the trap, similar design to the one we were looking at before. A little cage which contains the synthetic pheromone and a box for them to drop into. On an initial glance, I am not seeing any clearwings flying around in there, but we'll take it down and have a look properly. I'll just wander over to this bench so I can free up our hands by putting the camera down. So I'm going to put this down, and then we're going to have a look down here and see if there is anything in this trap hidden away. Not looking encouraging, I have to say. No. So this one was unsuccessful. You see there is nothing in there. We didn't successfully find any yellow-legged clearwings. So since this hasn't yet found any, I'm going to leave this trap in operation. I'll put it back together. And leave this running for another half an hour or so and see if we are successful. I'll see if I'm successful a bit later. So I'll leave that operating there in the same place just in case. And then we'll head back to the Bluebell Centre where we started. We'll see if we get to have a look. So that was a quick look through several of the moths from last night at the start of the broadcast, from a variety of survey tools I ran, by moth traps, which were essentially boxes with different types of light on them to attract the moths. And then at dawn this morning I went to them, so we had a look at some of those moths, talked about some of them, showed you some of them. Hopefully there would have been enough brief. Had a bit of a wander through to check two of the traps I'm running during the day, which are looking for moths in the clearwing family, Cecidae, for which there are these synthetic pheromone lures. Whilst I've got a signal, maybe we can have another look here at the six-belted clearwing from before. Getting a bit active now, flying around. So we did get one of them, which was nice. It's actually the first one of the six-belted clearwing I've recorded on this site this year, although I've seen several in other places. And yeah, we'll just walk back now to where we started. And with any luck, that will give us another chance to have a quick last look at this six-belted clearwing in slightly more controlled conditions. And then we will end from there. I'll just swing around. There's a few butterflies here. Let's have a look at some butterflies, shall we? So, on this bit of nettle here. And then we'll just wander around and just pop back into the centre. We'll see if we can get another look at this clearwing that we've grabbed from the pheromone trap. And then from there we'll end the broadcast. So I'm going to turn this round so we're looking at the moth. And that is 6-belted clearwing. And it is one of the Cetidae, one of the clearwing moths. And with that, I think we will end this broadcast.